All right, welcome to part two, A Place Called Home. So here we have these small little towns been growing. Today you have New York, I don't know, what, 20,000 cops? But it all began back in the day. What happened today is you have a lot of crime, you have a lot of cops. Why? Because cops are there to protect, right, the commerce of a town. They really don't have time to deal with the pettiness of people. You not liking your brother and punching him in the face, you not liking your sister and getting in trouble on the street in your neighborhood, that should have been handled by your family. But guess what? Everybody is crazy these days, right? So it's not that easy. So let's go. The police, right, was brought into the neighborhoods because the crime was rising. Now, people were scared in their own neighborhood, something that didn't happen in the past. The only time you were scared in your neighborhood was when another army came in and invaded. Remember those old days where they torch your places and they kill your people, and that's like, is that a long history? Let's talk about it. But first, let's get back to this. So the police became this buffer between people. And today, guess what? Downtown is closed, right? Back in the 90s, 80s, downtown pretty much was closed. And they went into the cities because they had to keep working, right? You can't say, okay, let's take the weekend off. Crime doesn't take time off. And that is the other problem. So, what happens when the rising of crime in neighborhoods, match the police force is the citizens get caught in the middle. But what happens when people harbor crime in their cities? Let's go back to the 30s, right? Remember the old gangs of the prohibition time? Well, people didn't know who to choose, criminals or cops. The people lost their trust. A place called home. Now, police officers sometimes they come from outside the city. They don't live in your town. So for them, I will say that if somebody told me, "Hey, I want you to do this job, but I want you to do it on those people," I said, "You know what? I'll be having a hard time doing it in my town, nonetheless in someone else's. So I probably would not do it." But these guys, they do it. It's a good job in a way, but it's very stressful. I don't know. You gotta say reward, sacrifice, right? So, what is the point of all this is that as long as we keep allowing crimes in our neighborhood to prosper, then we're going to have police mistakes. Because how are you going to train somebody to go against a very hostile target? With with London, right? They tried it. They didn't have a gun. They had this all the time. And it all began with knives, and then it began with guns, and now, guess what? They're armed to the teeth, the police officers. I don't blame people for being angry at not being able to solve problems, but it all begins at home, a place called home. A lot of places in our towns, a lot of towns, people gave up on crime, right? And we know that even some people, that are engaged in these activities, they fear other people that are engaged in these activities have become a systematic problem. Sorry, I'm a little. So there is really no solution to this that is going to be sweet. It's going to be painful. There is a mother grieving today around the world the fact that he lost a child. As a father, I understand that. Either that he lost it to crime, because when there's a crime, there are two victims. Sometimes a criminal doesn't make it too, and sometimes the innocent doesn't make it. So it is everybody's problem, truly, to resolve this matter and to minimize it and keep a tabs on it constantly. But it all begins in the childhood. Remember, police was created out of a necessity, really, mostly, of children that were orphans. They were unrestricted and they were raising themselves. So, how do you deal with people who are not ruling, right? In some cases, people say sticks and stones, like around the world, that to fix something is going to take a bitter truth. My mom, when I was a kid, used to tell me, drink this and you're going to get better. And it was the most horrible thing I ever tasted in my life, but guess what? I did get better. So a lot of people don't want to do that. They want to go around and create the same problem over and over, except it's getting bigger. Around the world, there's still a lot of places where if somebody goes from one town to another town to commit crime, it probably will not come back home if it gets caught. So for people out there who think that we are some kind of utopia, that these things shouldn't happen here while the problem exists, then it's just an illusion. We need to be realistic as to what we deal with things. It's not a problem of the police and it's not a problem of the criminal. It's a problem of every citizen of this country. To make sure that we safeguard our towns, that we safeguard our children, and that we're raising children to be part of a functional society. We know that nobody is perfect and that no world is perfect. But at the same time, we have to thrive with all the education. And what saddens me about all this is that we're living in the 21st century with the most technology and the most information available, and people still make mistakes from the Middle Ages. We're not lighting up our heart. We're not lighting up our, 90% of people today, they use their phone to entertain themselves or to do business. Very few people are learning out there how to raise their kids better, really better, in a world that is very competitive. Now let's talk a little bit about that. America will not stay number one if we continue this way. We have a political system that don't like each other. They do not like each other. And I tell you, being a person from a different point of view, I will tell you why. A lot of people accuse Republicans of racist, right? Well, a lot of people that generalize are very confused. Because when you generalize something, you right there lost all type of argument. Not everybody is everybody. Here's one thing I noticed by living in this country for a long, long time, and I do pay attention. Republicans are very straightforward about two things. You carry your own weight, and we'll help you when you can't. That's what they say. In other words, you go as far as you can with yourself, and then once your leg, or then we'll help you. And then they say two things. We will keep this country together. We will fight for it. Now, how do you know that's true? Well, if you look at when Republicans are in power, there's a war somewhere out there. But that war is not just for any reason. There's a lot of things that the average citizens don't know that's going on out there. To be number one, you have to beat number two, number three, number four, number five. They all want what you want. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You go out and investigate. You only have one thing that the world wants. Me coming from a little tiny country, I can see it like a, but I'm not going to tell you. Because if I do, then what's the point of doing this? You go and investigate. What is it that I have that everybody wants and why they're making all this crazy out here between us? Now, I'm going to be very straight up. You may not like this. I don't care. But I'm going to just tell it because we're running out of time here. Our country needs us. Our world needs us. If America goes down, the entire world will go down as you see it. Remember World War II? Remember that world? What would have happened if those guys would have won? How do you think your kids and your life will be today? Well, be careful, right? So look at what you have right now and what it takes to have that. Freedom is something that everybody is responsible for. Although some people, they rather look the other way because it takes some bitter truth to be able to be free. I'll give you an example. When Moses took his tribe, right, out of Egypt, it wasn't just a few days and people were like, man, why did we get free, man? We cannot go nowhere. Man, I can't eat every day. Like, you know, and Moses said, be patient. Man, you told us, man, you. And that was what, 5,000 years ago. People were still complaining over the same thing. Now these people were free and they were complaining of the things they had when they were slaves, right? And that was 5,000 years ago? Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just paraphrasing here to illustrate something. So in America today, a lot of people are complaining. Why are we free? I don't even understand this. People discriminate me. I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. How about trying another country, getting that passport and go some life training? It's easy. Look, Europeans are very smart. They send their children for like a 2 months something out in the world. I did that with my kid. She went to Europe. And when she came back, she told me stories. Like, Dad, like her eyes were wide open. But if you don't know the world and you just run around your neighborhood and it's a crappy neighborhood and that's all you see, and then when you get angry, well, you don't even have a reason to be angry because you just don't know nothing. But if you took that passport and that courage and instead of wasting your money you invested it in learning about the world, you could have traveled to another country and say, oh my God, America is really a nice place. But how do you teach people virtually? How do you love people virtually? Now you get in the picture. They want to lock us up like with some kind of chicken in a coop. Now they say, oh, you can love somebody through the screen of your phone. Well, guys, we're running out of time. You're running out of time. America is a free country because it fights for its freedom, and a lot of people don't like that. As you can see right now, we're fighting all kinds of fronts. Let's go to the Democrats. I told you Republicans are very straight up. They believe in small country, although they haven't been able to do it in the last few decades. Government keeps expanding because people keep asking for more and more and more, right? Guys, there was a great guy here in this country called JFK. He says something that struck me, coming from him. Well, he's no longer with us. He says something. He said, it's not what your country can do for you, but it's what you can do for your country. And everybody ran that way, right that way. Everybody went up in arms and they said, wow, how dare he tell us that we gotta go to war for our country, right? He shook the world. Great men with great ideas, well, you know what happens to them. Why? Because he said the word work. The forbidden word. Go to work. Well, there are two types of way to go to work. Very simple. You either voluntarily say, okay, I'm going to give 8 hours of my day to work 6 days a week, 5 days a week to support my nation, loving it freely, happy because I get 2/3 of that time for myself. Or you can wait and be conquered and have to work 2/3 of your time for nothing and get 8 hours to go rest, eat, sleep, and cry. Your choice. You want to go around the world? As we speak right now, in this world, there's people that are being conquered and putting metal things. They have no food. I can take you pictures, but I can give you pictures, but I don't like to illustrate stuff like that to my viewers. I know you're smart enough to understand. This is not just for anybody, by the way. They thought the freedom was too uncomfortable. I gotta go to work. What do you mean? Well, either you go to work or they're gonna make you go to work. Guys, nobody can escape that reality. And just because you think that you entitle yourself to certain benefits that other people don't, that there will not be that day that interest will be charged on whatever you charge. I remember when I was a kid, people used to go to the store and say, "Can you put such and such foods on my tab?" And sometimes people didn't pay it, and then later said, "I'm gonna have to charge you a little bit more because you didn't pay me on time." That's called interest, right? So a lot of people think that this free lunch is gonna be free forever. No, someday you'll have to pay the entire tab with interest. That's not a good thing. Pay as you go, my friend. Here we go. Last thing. Blessed be those to blessed. Very simple. If you're a person that wants to revenge and hurt other people, you will get the same thing. Either by the person that you did it to, or by the universal justice, meaning cops, military, or somebody's going to come back at you. Don't hide. Especially if you are there putting all your stuff proudly, right? People are watching. This world, people are watching. There are people out there that want to make a world. I'm trying to make this in 2, but can you take 3? I might be able to do this in 3. But let's see. There is people out there that have this utopia idea that is not new. It's actually one of the oldest ideas. There is people out there who think that we should all speak one language, we should all have one money, we should all have one right, we should all have one thing. But the problem with this is that they see themselves on top. Well, it's not an autonomous thing, right? You heard the word autonomous out there in Seattle, right? Well, they're trying to sell you that, but it's not true. What is it so autonomous when somebody has a gun and telling you what to do? That's not very autonomous. Autonomous is a system that is defined by peaceful people, not by force. People agree, like in my neighborhood when I grew up, we agree because we have the peace that we have the military and the police that will protect us in case we fail. Yeah, it is okay to say, hey, let's be self-sufficient and self-reliant when you work hard and you can feed and sustain yourself. But if every time your money runs out and you go like this, that's not very autonomous. Remember where your money comes from, and that will solve all your problems. As long as you're taking money where the face of that person is not yours, then you all work to that person. Guys, we are in a very intricate time because somebody is trying to sell us an idea that has failed through history. If you go to the Wikipedia or whatever, I'm going to give you a word called the Catholic. You know the Catholics went around the world, right? And we gave religion. Religion was another form of one universal way to live. They almost reached everywhere in the world. Latin America used to be 99% Catholic, right? It came all the way up to America where it reached the Christians, which is a different version of Christianity, right? But it went into Canada, and it's in every country of the world. In the few decades in the 20th century, Christianity has been in decline by all these other sorts of ideas that people want to live under, right? People don't want to feel so guilty anymore, right? But here's the thing. The word Catholic means nothing more in Greek or in Latin than universal. The word universal means uni. We are all one, basically. And that is being preached all over the world. It's nothing new. The Romans tried that too when they went from multiple gods to one God to make people believe that, hey, look, you're free, but we hold the keys to your freedom. That's not how it works. So it's very simple, guys. You just have to see it. They're putting you against each other so that you have a necessity. They give you a problem. White people, black people, green people, yellow people. And then they say, well, what is the reaction? Sticks and stones. So what is the solution? Well, you already have it in your neighborhoods, but you still haven't seen it. The only problem that you have is that a lot of people don't think that this is very serious. Your country needs you more than ever before. You can fall asleep every night peacefully. For how long? Living like this. Get engaged, guys. Promote peace, and you will save this great nation. You promote violence, and you're going to lose that. And you're not going to like the outcome. The people out there that wants this last bastion of freedom called America, they want it because we're the only thing that's stopping them. The rest of the world are rarely falling. Did you know that in some countries in Latin America, men can only go outside right now 2 days a week? And the women cannot go outside more than 2 days a week? It goes by their number of some sort. Check it out. And guess what? These people out there, when they give them money, the government, you cannot buy alcohol or other things, I guess. This came from the horse's mouth. I was talking to somebody here that was telling me, he volunteered this information just because we're very similar culture. Guys, throughout the world, freedoms are falling. Remember this organization that was just rejected from us here? Well, there are organizations being rejected by the U.S. because they're not of good interest for us. Almost like persona non grata. And the reason why we're doing that is because we are not with them a good family. Protect your country. If you don't, you're going to lose it. We need everybody. We need everybody. Every race, every color, every creed, every practice. Even those protected. I don't want to be a prophet. Not my job. I'm a salesman. But I know when somebody's selling me something, I shouldn't buy. Let's be a family. Most people want revenge. They don't want justice. Remember that. Watch this fully. Share, like, subscribe. Remember, we are a family. Not the same family like I grew up with, but I love you guys. Oh, by the way, don't be a dummy. I didn't